I am pro-life. I'm pro everyone already on this planet having a high quality of life. I'm in favor of fair taxation, raising the minimum wage, improving social services, and providing food, medicine, and welfare for those who need it, even if they can't pay. I'm in favor of taking care of the most vulnerable amongst us, the poor, disabled, children, and elderly. And I'm in favor of not putting women in unnecessary danger. All of that is how I would define being pro-life. Other people who claim or identify with that term, pro-life, would be more accurately labeled as pro-control. Because the overwhelming majority of people who claim to be pro-life oppose the life-improving, life-giving things that I just listed and are solely focused on controlling women's bodies. How can a person claim to be pro-life and then turn around and say things like, we can't find money for early childhood education or feeding people or creating public housing or providing medical care as a human right? It's typically the same people who also favor exorbitant military spending and sending kids off to die in war, as well as capital punishment and policies that enable the destruction of the environment. It seems pretty anti-life to me. Life begins at conception. Okay, and? Though it's true that a zygote is a form of life, it's not wholly relevant in the debate. Acknowledging that life begins at conception is not incompatible with thinking a woman should have the right to choose an abortion. Many things are life. Ants are life. Pond scum is life. Rainforests are life. Polar bears are life. Viruses are life. Cancer is life. Parasites are life. As our society is currently structured, it's clear that not all life has the same value. Not all life has the same rights. A simple question helped me understand this position. Should one person be entitled to another person's body parts if they are needed in order to survive? If you, a living person, have a kidney that I need to survive, or a heart or lungs, should I be entitled to take them if my survival depends on doing so? What is your obligation to my survival? What bodily sacrifices should one person be forced to make so that another being may survive? Another way to look at it is that there are two lives on a little sinking ship, and only one can be saved. And only one has a voice with which to cry out, and only one has plans and dreams and hopes for her life that don't involve having a child. To say a woman shouldn't be able to choose what happens to her own body is to say that she's just a vessel, a factory for creating new humans. You do this thing and you don't complain. Her desires become irrelevant. It's really a brutal and barbaric way of thinking. Elevating a fetus over a woman is the ultimate in degradation, an extreme form of the same dehumanizing way we've been treating women forever. But just because objectifying women is an age-old practice doesn't make it right. Women are not property. Women are not factories. Women are not apartment complexes. Women are autonomous, feeling, thinking, active human beings. Giving a woman the right to choose what happens to her body and within her body is empowerment. And taking that right away and subordinating her is disempowerment. I think we should do everything we can to minimize the number of abortions. I don't think abortion is an ideal situation. It can create trauma that's unneeded and unwanted. We can drastically reduce abortion rates through other means besides making them illegal. We can do so by providing education and access to contraception, birth control, and health care for women. We are not doing these things. And the people who oppose these simple humanitarian actions, which would actually reduce the number of abortions that take place, are the same people who claim to be against abortion. They're against abortion but refuse to implement measures that would reduce abortion. Make it make sense. In fact, the only way it makes sense is when you realize that their goal isn't really to reduce abortions. We know the illegal, dangerous, back alley, black market, coat hanger abortions will still take place. Their goal is to control women and to control the legal system that says what happens to women and to terrorize and traumatize women. What else but terrorizing would you call denying healthcare to a woman who, when faced with an ectopic pregnancy, knows she will be forced to carry that pregnancy until it kills her? What else but traumatizing would you call forcing a teenage rape victim to gestate her rapist's fetus for 9 months and then give birth? But the terror and trauma don't stop there, because after anti-choice advocates succeed in outlawing abortion, their next step will be to come for contraception and birth control. Do you really think they're going to stop at abortion? I don't. Some people say we are on our way to Gilead, but we don't have to look at fiction for an example of forcing women to have children. There is historical precedent for that. And if you think it can only happen in a book, you need to look at the grand experiment that happened in Romania in the last century. In 1966, dictator Nicolae Ceausescu signed Decree 770, which forced Romanian women up to age 45 to undergo monthly gynecological exams. And those who refused were denied medical care, Social Security, and even vacation. They were forced to take quarterly pregnancy tests and were assessed a special tax if they failed to get married and have children. Of course, birth control and abortion were banned, but women were also punished for every single month that their womb was empty, until they had given birth to 5 children, when their body was finally theirs to do with as they pleased, when they were finally free. So this experiment has already been done, and how did it work out? Well, Ceausescu wanted to create an army, and he did. He created an army of revolutionaries that overthrew his government. 22 years after the signing of Decree 770, the babies he forced into existence grew into young revolutionaries, rose up, and executed Ceausescu and his wife by firing squad. That's how it worked out. For the past 2 years, we've heard the my body, my choice rhetoric co-opted and echoed by those opposing masks and vaccines. And yet the irony is that the Venn diagram comparing those people to the anti-choice crowd is practically a circle. If you're against the government telling citizens what they can and can't do with their bodies, you know what? Fine. But at least be consistent. Instead of claiming rules for thee but none for me, extend your argument to women's rights. Her body, her choice. The end.